podcast series of Business of Cannabis. Find out all that we do at businessofcannabis.com. Coming up, we connect with Dina Rollman. She is the SVP for Government Affairs at Green Thumb Industries. We wanted to connect with her about their Good Green program. It's a social impact grant program that they recently launched. This is Dina Rollman from Green Thumb Industries.
Dina, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. Thrilled to be here.
Excited to have you because what came across our desk last week was a bit about Green Thumb, but a lot about the Good Green grants and the sort of program that you guys have implemented and are now rolling out. Before we get into that, tell us a little bit about you and the role you have at Green Thumb.
Great. Well, so I've actually had the privilege of being a part of the Green Thumb team since summer of 2014. So all of you who are in the cannabis industry can understand, over 7 years of this wild ride. So I have the bags under my eyes to prove it, which you can't see on a podcast, thankfully. But it's been wild and fun. And, working with Ben Kovler for over 7 years has been great. I've learned a ton. And part of that experience has been, a true startup. So I'm a lawyer by background. So in the early days of Green Thumb, I did legal, I did regulatory compliance, and I was part of our in-house application team, submitting applications for competitive licenses. But then about 3.5 years ago, I started our government affairs department. Mm-hmm. So I lead that. And then as part of really, it's not under, next to, but in my life is also our social impact department, because I oversee that as well. And so I have, again, the privilege of, on the government affairs side, working to impact adult use and medical cannabis laws, in multiple states throughout the country at a state, local level, work on federal legalization. But then also, what I'm really very proud of is our social impact department and all the work we're doing to have a positive impact.
Well, if you work for Ben Kovler, do you need to be good at math? Like,
so
do you need
we've
to put
been
up
battling
answers to his questions?
We've been battling for years because I'm an English major, terrible at math, pretty good with words. And so I've been trying to get him to believe that being good with words is just as good as being good at math, and he's not buying it.
It's just hard. It's a lot harder to answer his math questions.
Yes, but you know what? He looks to me to edit his written product. So hey, he still needs me around, right?
Well, I think on that spectrum of Ben being math and you being English, I tend to be on your side. Like, I read the questions sometimes that he posted. I'm not even sure where to even start with where to even start. Like, this
morning's challenge was particularly hard. I just looked at it and I just closed Twitter and said, not today.
Yeah, I was trying to do something with my hand. I'm like, so there's a band around the earth. Just keep scrolling. That's what I did.
Yes, exactly. Too early on a Monday.
Like, I worry that people see that and like actually know how to approach it. That's my worry, that I'm like so far behind that other people are approaching the question.
Insider tip to people who want to work at Green Thumb, you answer that question this morning, right? Like, if there's a job you want at Green Thumb, apply.
Just apply with the right answer, and that's it. Just send resume answer to dear Ben Kovler. Well, that's great background, and also a really good long run in the sector, which is interesting, which is great. It's also nice to see. That's actually one of the longer tenures that we've talked to people. Talk a little bit about the Good Green grants, because I think they came out, or you announced them last week. Talk a little bit about sort of the program, where the money is being allocated, and the impact you hope to see.
Right. So it's, it is a brand new program for us, something that, not only have we not done before, I don't think anyone in the industry is doing it. I do think it's really just a new concept that we're really proud of. 100% developed in-house. I mean, in not a lot of time. And I think it's going to have a huge impact. And what it is Good Green is a new value flower brand. So we've just created a brand new in-house brand, Good Green, shocker, green packaging, a lot of green and a lot of look to it of like kind of a Green Thumb look. So it doesn't say Green Thumb on it, but it has kind of a nice Green Thumb look. And the purpose of it is to bring change-making community organizations and cannabis consumers together, where you can make, an informed strategic choice of what cannabis flower you're buying in order to support values that the Green Thumb holds and that consumers hold, and that is making real sustained progress against the war on drugs. A lot of harm's done. We know the war on drugs was terribly racist and had a disproportionately negative impact on communities of color. And it's one thing to legalize in states and have decriminalization and sort of at least finally try to put a stop to this continued war on drugs. But you have to also look at what were the harms done to these communities, and it's decades of harm. This has been decades of damage of the targeted arrests, the over incarceration, et cetera. So what we're doing is saying, let's focus on charitable registered 501c3 organizations located in the markets where good green products are sold. We're starting with 5 states. Hopefully I can rattle these off. It's Illinois, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, Maryland, and oh my goodness, I'm forgetting the 5th. I'll come back to you.
New Jersey.
New Jersey. Thank you. Okay. And so, in those states, you can purchase good green products, and then a portion of the proceeds from every sale are going into what's called the Good Green Fund. Then on the Good Green Fund side of it, we have open periods where these 501c3s can apply for grants. And these are unrestricted grants. We are looking for 501c3s that are addressing the brand's 3 pillars: education, employment, and expungement. So as long as the 501c3 is, able to demonstrate in their application that, they're a real organization, with a positive track record, that's doing impactful work, they're in the running. And so we just began sales of good green products a week ago. So obviously it takes a while to build up, proceeds from sales. So instead of waiting and delaying, what Green Thumb did was say, we're just going to seed this fund day one, sort of out of existing capital. And so we announced the first round of grant recipients last week.
Great. Can you tell us who they were?
Happy to. So one is the Philadelphia Lawyers for Social Equity, which provides free legal advice and representation to low-income Philadelphia residents who are held back by their criminal records. They're seeking expungements and pardons and leading systemic reform of the system there. The second one, called Why Not Prosper, is founded by formerly incarcerated women, and that provides pre-release mentoring to incarcerated women, as well as residential and community services to help incarcerated Philadelphia women transition successfully from prison to then re-enter society. And then third is Innovation Works Baltimore, which aims to help close neighborhood, racial, and wealth divides by connecting neighborhoods, entrepreneurs, and investors to create jobs and long-term social enterprises that will ignite and transform local economies. So really, exciting week last week. Ben, was flying across the country, delivering, big checks to these organizations, meeting with the people that run these 501c3s, and it's just so exciting to, sort of, it's just all of a sudden it's real, and here's the check and let's go. And so, you start with that. And so we'll be, getting results from them as to how they're using the funds and how they're having a positive impact. And, we'll have just a regular cadence of grant winners. So basically, all year round, we're not only just, giving away money, but then also, getting that feedback from these 501c3s about how they're using the funds to have an impact. So we think this is going to be a real game changer in terms of really impact-driven social impact work.
I like it. I like it from, I of course like exactly what you're doing and the program you have. I like it because I also think it speaks to the maturation of the sector to say, we want to have this revolving fund that actually, aspires to do the things that we talk about as a company, and also brings Green Thumb, but also the industry to where many other sectors are or have been, right? It actually speaks to the idea that cannabis companies are not only good corporate citizens, which they are, but also want to create lasting impact from the proceeds of certain products, which I think is just, it's like the Patagonia model a little bit, but it really is like, how do we actually make this something that, of course, Green Thumb does and leads, but other companies follow, because I think that's the model that gets the industry moving forward and normalization of the sector in many consumers' eyes.
Agreed. And it's interesting that this is MJ Biz week, in Las Vegas, because I went to MJ Biz, boy, it might have been my first year there was, I think, 6 years ago. And I can't remember whether it was Ben or Jerry of Ben and Jerry's was the keynote speaker. And I sat there, and this was, I think, before Green Thumb had even been awarded its first license. So I was sort of there, but not even officially in the industry yet. And, the whole room was full, which at that time maybe had 500 people in it or 1,000 people, which is, hard to picture now. But it was a really impactful speech, because he said, all of you sitting in this room or here in Vegas, because you're thinking about how to be in a business and in an industry, and it's dollars driven and, money, power, all of these things. But, I'm here to remind you all that you can do all that. Go chase your dreams, make your money, chase your success, all of that. But you can still do good while you're doing that. And, talked about how Ben and Jerry's, since day one had that commitment to having a positive impact. And so, it is years later, I still remember that speech. I had chills when he said it, like, yes, it's early days for this industry. And we don't have to spend, 2 decades surviving and thriving to only then start thinking about giving back. It can really be just core to the industry. It certainly has been core to GTI's DNA since day one. We've all of the people who were there, Ben is the founder, but just, people in the early days writing those license applications, you had to think about a community benefits plan and how are you going to give back, or, a diversity plan. So, we would have thought of those things anyways, but it just happened. Those competitive license applications actually forced you to put down on paper how you were going to do it. And I think it was a really healthy, good exercise. And it just means that, every state where we operate, we had to give thought to how we were going to give back. It was never optional. So proud of, Green Thumb for having it be core to the DNA. I'm proud of how we're leading on this Good Green program, but honestly, I want other people to copy it. We want to elevate this industry. We don't want to stand out for something like this. We want it to be like, yeah, this whole cannabis industry, all these crazy stoners actually are running these great businesses. And, look at all the money and ways that they're giving back and trying to have an impact, then we can feel, proud of our industry, I think. And, I'm sure you've talked to a lot of people about this over the years during your podcast, but, we are a unique industry in that our roots were in this, this racist criminalization. And so we've got these, less diverse than they should be owned companies, profiting off of brings this issue to mind with every purchase.
Yeah. Well, I'm thankful that you're doing it. It was nice to meet you, to hear about the progress. I hope we can come back over time and hear about the progress of Good Green and the grants and the work Green Thumb is doing to lead that. But I want to thank you for joining us here today. We look forward to connecting with you down the road.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me. And I would love the chance to come back and report back.
Great. Thanks, Dina.
Thanks. Bye.
Industries, if you like this program, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you heard the show. It helps support the work we do. We're able to do what we do because of ongoing partnerships with Alterna Savings, Cannabis at Work, Cannabis Benchmarks, 10 Delta, Gallagher, Headset, and Torque and Maine. Find out all that we do at businessofcannabis.com.